This is the fifth class in Perek Hamafkid, which is a Maseches Bava Metzia on Daf Lamed Daled and Mad Aleph. Let's begin. So in the previous Gemara we had a question. How is it that the owner of the deposit gives over to the Shemechinam the rights to Kefil if the Kefil is not in existence? And the rule is, Ein Adam Makne, a person cannot give over ownership of Dover, an item, Shalei Bala Olam, that's not in existence. And Rava answered that it's Nasa Ka'emerle. We look at it as if the owner told the Shemechinam that if and when this deposit is stolen and you decide to pay me, so in exchange for that, because you're going to do that for me, I'm giving you ownership of my cow from right now, through you pulling the cow, Meshicha. You're going to get ownership of the cow from when I handed it to you. And therefore it answers our question, because the owner is not giving the Shemechinam the rights to Kefil, which is not in existence, but rather he's giving him ownership of the animal which is in existence. And as a result of the Shemechinam owning the animal, he also naturally has the rights to Kefil. Since the animal belongs to him, the Ganim needs to pay it to him. So now in our Gemara, the Gemara is going to present an alternative girsa, an alternative version, an Ikeda Amri, to the answer of Rava. It's a little different than the original answer, and then the Gemara is going to ask what's the difference in halacha between the two answers and give two answers to this question. So let's see it in the Gemara inside. Ika da Amri, there are those that say, Amar Rava, Rava said, Nasa ka'emerle, it's made as if the owner told the Shemechinam, Lishitika ganev, if and when it gets stolen, Vitirtze, and you will want, Vitishalmeni, and you will pay me. So then, Samuch lignevasa knuyalach, it's close to the time that it was stolen, it becomes acquired to you. So he's not telling him, if it's stolen, then you get ownership from now. Rather, he's telling him, if it is stolen, then you get ownership from right before it was stolen. And how does he get ownership? If he tells him from right now you get ownership, it's through the kinyan of Meshicha, that the Shemer pulled the animal. However, if he says right before it was stolen, it's given over to you, through what kinyan? It's going to be through the kinyan of Chatzar. Since the animal is found in the property, in the yard or a different property of the Shemer, and the din is that if somebody wants to give something to somebody else, one of the ways that the person could acquire it is if it's in his property. So therefore it's through the kinyan of Chatzar that the Shemer gets ownership over this item. So the Gemara now asks, now that we established that there's two different answers to Rava, that either he's telling him that you acquire ownership from when I handed it to you through the kinyan of Mashiach, or he is telling him you'll get ownership from right before it was stolen through the kinyan of Chatzar. Ask the Gemara, my binayu, what's the difference between these two answers? According to both answers, the bottom line is that the Shemechinam gets ownership of the deposit, whether it's from when the owner gave it to him or from right before it was stolen, but either way, at any rate, he'll get ownership of the deposit, and automatically he'll have the rights to Kefil. So what's the difference between them? What nafkamina and halacha comes out between these two answers? And the Gemara gives two answers to this. Ika benayu, there is a difference between these two answers. Kushya de Rabbi Zera, the Kushya de Rabbi Zera, the question of Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera asked on the first answer of Rava that according to that answer, that when the Shemechinam pays the owner, he gets ownership of the deposit from when the owner gave it to him. According to that, it should come out that if it was a sheep and it had wool that was shorn, that was removed from the time that the owner gave it to him until it was stolen, or if it was an animal that had offspring that were born between when the owner gave it to the Shemer and when it was stolen, according to the first answer of Rava, it should belong to the Shemer. Because once the Shemer pays the owner for the stolen sheep, or the stolen ox, whatever it might be, he gets ownership from when the owner gave it to him. So therefore, since it belonged to him from that time, anything that happened in between should belong to the Shemer. The problem is, it says in a Brisa that the animal belongs to the Shemer, the Kefil, Dalet, and Hay belongs to the Shemer, but the Gizei Seha, any wool that was shorn, Uvladei and any offspring belongs to the owner. And the question is, according to Rava, that shouldn't be the case. But according to the second answer of Rav, it makes sense. Since the Shemechinam only gets ownership over the stolen deposit from right before it was stolen. So it makes sense that anything that happened before that still belongs to the owner, including wool that was shorn from the animal and any offspring. And a second difference between the two answers, says the Gemara, inami, or also the kaima ba'agam, that it was found in a swamp. If right before it was stolen, it was in a swamp, it was stolen from a swamp, so then the Shemechinam can never receive ownership, because the owner told him, if you pay me, you'll get ownership from right before it was stolen. And how does he get ownership? Which kinyan is there? The kinyan of Chatzar, because the animal is found in the property, in the Chatzar of the Shemer. However, if it was found in a place that's hefker, in a swamp, then there's no way for the Shemer Chinam to get ownership over it, and he won't own it even if he pays the owner for the stolen sheep. So the Gemara brings out two differences. One as a result of the time. Was it from the beginning and then the shorn wool and the offspring should belong to the shamer, or was it only right before it was stolen and then the shorn wool and the offspring should belong to the owner? So then it'll depend, does it go to the shemer chinam or to the owner? And another difference is based on the method of the kinyan. Is it through the mashicha at the beginning, so that's always in place, it'll never be a problem, or is it through the method and the kinyan of Chatzar? Well, where then sometimes it'll be in place and sometimes it won't. And with that we have the whole Gemara. We have an Ikeda Amri on the answer of Rava. We have a question, what's the difference between them? And we give two answers. So let's see it in the Gemara. We have the first answer in green, then we had the Mai Benayu, and then we gave the answer again in green, Ike Benayu, two different answers.